In this video, I'll be going over the Platform Developer 1 Certification Maintenance overview and highlights. I will not be going over everything because there's actually quite a lot, but I will jump into some of the more important topics that I think. I encourage you guys to read over everything yourself and explore some of it in the Trailhead orgs and in your sandboxes. First up here, we have some new class changes and interfaces. Some really cool and interesting ones that I saw here are the org limits. We can see here that we can new methods out here to get the names, get values, and get the actual maximum limits of certain org limits themselves. There's also ones to get all information on the org limits and iterate through that in a map. So pretty cool. I thought these actually existed before, but I may be wrong. I feel like I've looked up org limits before, but maybe it was in a different way. Next up, we have some auth changes or auth classes that are coming out. I haven't used this too much. These may be used in particular situations when you're doing like self-registration, something to do with communities or SSO. Some changes to the system test classes. So test.stop. I'm assuming it's the addition here is with the process builder. So once you call the test.stop, it will also trigger flows and process builders after the fact. So if you've ever used that before and you have like a time delay or some process that waits, it'll also trigger those process builders and flows. Some more authentication classes and methods that are pretty interesting here. So take this one, for instance, the handler used to implement my domain login discovery page. And it's a two-step interview that you can actually put in your email or your phone number, and it can do email and phone number, and it can do authentication through that. So next we have some changes to the event log files. So this is an actual underlying object that you can call to do debugging. Changes on this is that it includes additional items in the stack trace and exception information that was not there before. Next is cloning sandboxes. So now we can clone sandboxes instead of just refreshing them or creating them from brand new. And this will be, it's kind of hard to show unless you're in a production org. When you're using the sandboxes, you can actually click clone instead of a new sandbox and clone it from there. This will help if you're replicating a lot of sandboxes for things like staging and testing, and you have multiple people working on maybe one source copy of a sandbox, and you don't want them to be working off of production as your golden record. So this can come in handy for those types of situations. And it also looks like we can use the tooling API to spin up new sandboxes with the source ID. Next is some changes to default values and I guess configuration with metadata types. Really quickly, I will jump into my Trailhead org, go down here, and I will show you, I went through and created this just to see what it was like, and there's also this pathing to get to know those values. So we can demonstrate this by going into setup, metadata, our custom metadata types. I've already created this. You can follow along. So you create a new one, call it discount percentage, manage your records, create a record. This one's for IT, so specific for IT, there's an 8% discount. Then if you go to create a field and we wanted to have a specific discount for it, let's do a formula field. We can also call this in code as well. So we'll just call this discount. This will be a percentage field. Insert field here. We have custom metadata types, IT, and then our field, which was the discount percentage. So this gets spit out. We could also call this in code, and we can, some practical applications is having a couple of if statements in here to spit out if the department is IT, then there's a 5% discount. If the department's HR, then there's a different discount. So we're using that metadata type as a constant variable, we'll say, and that's easier to change than hard coding something. Period. So something easy to use, something an admin can take advantage of, and something to know about when you're building your code to have make sure your code is more flexible with metadata types and using these variables that admins can get access to. And that's it. So I'm here. I've already filled out some of the quiz. The first one is with the My Domain, something where the users, an implementation of the interface where the user would log in with something other than the username and password. That was the My Domain login discovery. Then we can use get all. This is a method to get all the limits, return a list of the limits. So from what we just saw, that is get all, and the class should be system.org.limits. This one was a little bit harder to figure out. I'm going on a guess to say that the exception message type and the new stack trace is the answer for this one. So basically what's now available with the event monitoring. Next up is what do we need for sandbox infos when you're cloning them. So that is the source ID, and then the new call for the label, what it would be called for custom metadata type. So check these, cross your fingers, and we nailed it.